Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Purpose Church Online. We are so excited that you're tuning in with us today. Today, we are starting part 2 of a series that we are calling Under Construction. And oh boy, have we got a good one today. Oh Lord, well, I am ready to preach today. Because let me tell you, the Lord has been downloading so much stuff into my head over the past few weeks. I mean, like, this series was supposed to originally be like 3 parts long, right? We on week 2 today. It was supposed to be like 3 weeks, right? We might end up getting into like 5 weeks. We might honestly get into 5 weeks because let me tell you something. Me and the Lord I have an antenna sticking out somewhere off a shoulder or something. I mean, he is just downloading so much stuff into my head. Like, I've got like 13 titles for every message. I've come up with like so many, right? And then I got like 27 points. I'm like, I can't talk about this in like 30 to 40 minutes. I can't do that. Like, last week's message was a little longer than usual. I just had so much. I had a lot to talk about. But, like, we might have to extend this one. Because I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. Okay? So, anyway. So today we're going to be talking about something that I think is super important. We've been going along with this analogy, right? Of kind of building our house, right? Being under construction. Right? How to build your faith, how to build your relationship with the Lord, right? And last week we really got to talk about laying the foundation. I really hope that really helped you all. I wish I could take a poll, but I can't, right? Hope that helped you all. But we talked about laying the foundation and what a foundation was made of, right? And how a foundation determines your first response and what you're seated in determines your stability. Right? Like what you're planted in, what you're seated in determines how much you can take, how much punishment you can take, the stability, how much you move when those trials come, what you're seated in, right? And how just like the foundation is so important. Like, you would never build your foundation on something that's like, you know, sand, like that's unstable. And then how we talked about like how if the foundation is solid, even when those trials come, how you can rebuild on top of the foundation, right? And I really think that helped with us. And we're going through this kind of analysis, not even analysis, but just walkthrough of the life of Job, right? And also the life of Jesus, because we all know that like Jesus is our number one representation. Right? So we're going through the life of Job in the Old Testament and then Jesus in the New Testament. And I was talking with the Lord, and believe it or not, I wrote this message in the car. I tend to do that. I just write like a lot of my messages on long drives for whatever reason, because it's like when me and the Lord are just like I'm just alone and I can just be super quiet and I don't have like kids running around the house just like yelling. So like on really long drives, like on the way to and from school, when I come home for like breaks and stuff, I write like some crazy messages or like 2 a.m. Like I have like 2 a.m. deep thoughts. Like I'll be in prayer or something, or I'll be reading my Bible at like 2, 3 in the morning, can't sleep. Lord downloads something, knocks me out like a light. Like, you feel me? Like I write it down and then I'm gone, right? Out, sleep. But we've been going along with this an analogy of building a house and walking through the life of Job and Jesus, and it kind of got me thinking, right? I was writing this message in the car and I was preaching it, and I was like, what? Besides, like, everybody usually goes to foundation. Like, your foundation is insanely important. Like, insanely important. But what people often don't talk about is the other parts of the house that make it so strong. Like, your foundation is super important. It keeps you stable. But like, once you have a good foundation, what you put in it, what you plant in your foundation is also super important. And that's why I'm going to give you the message of I'm going to give you the name of my message right now, right? And the name of my message today, and write this down, is called Strength in Your Structure. Okay, write that down. Strength in your structure, and you could subtitle it like structural support. Like I said, I had 12 different names for this message right here, right? But strengthen your structure, and I think it's so important because particularly when we talk about like the analogy of a house, right? Once you plant your structure, like you would never build a house that had like sticks holding up your upstairs. Like after they plant the foundation, they gotta plant, like after they lay the foundation, they have to plant like these giant support beams, right? These giant supporting beams made of concrete or just giant pieces of wood, like look like some logs somebody just made a square out of, right? Anyway, just to hold up everything else. And then you have to, like, on top of those structural supporting beams, you start laying like the walls, like the smaller supporting things for your walls, and they connect between the two. And like that is so important, because while your foundation holds you stable, your structure, like when winds and trials and the weathering comes, the structure is what protects you from all angles, right? It protects you from the weather, because like I can hold up something in front of me, but if I don't have good structure, if I don't have good support behind me and to my left and right and up, down, side to side, right, I'm going to get hit from somewhere. Like you would never build a house and then hold up the wall on one side, right? You can't do it. Like you would just get knocked over. So that's why I think structure is so important. And in this message today, we're talking about 3 different types of structures. I'm going to give you 3 types of structures, and then with every structure, I'm going to give you a question. And that question is going to help kind of walk us through this, right? Because I think it's so important. Like these 3 questions, if you could ask yourself these 3 questions and determine what these 3 structures in your life are, oh my Lord, like it'll help you so much. You go into new levels. Like this is this is gonna help you a ton. So we just gonna get into this. We're gonna get into this. All right. So the first structure that I want to talk about is gonna throw you off guard just a little bit. You're not going to think it's what it is, right? Because the first structure I want to talk about is your spending structure. The first wall in your house, the first support beam in your house is your spending structure. And I know what you just, he talking about money. He just trying to, oh Lord, he's talking about money. He just wants all the money from the people. The Lord want all of our money. No, I'm not just talking about your money. Right? I'm not talking about I'm really not talking about your money at all. We're gonna do another message on tithing later. We haven't gotten to that yet. Money is super important, but even more importantly than just money, I want to talk about how you're spending your time. Which leads me to the first question for spending structure. The question for spending structure is, where is your time? Right? Like, where are you spending the majority of your time? Because unlike money, you can never get time back. Time is the only resource you can never earn back. Ever. Money, you can go out and make more money. You can go out and make more. Whatever. But time is a finite resource. You've only got so many years on this earth. So how you're spending them is so important. So important. Like, and the thing is that I think is really funny is like a lot of people are expecting results that contradict the way they spend their time. And it leads me to like not my first point, because I really don't have points for this message. I have like section headings, right? The three structures, whatever. But realistically, if you wanted to put this as a point, you could do it, right? And it says, where you spend your time is where you'll see your fruit. Where you spend your time is where you'll see your fruit. But like if you whiling out at the club on the weekends, guess where your fruit's going to be? If you're constantly on social media comparing yourself to everybody, or not even, I just skipped a little bit. If you're constantly on social media, scrolling through and checking out everybody else, guess what your fruit is going to be? It's going to be comparison. And that's a really bad fruit. Like just because there is fruit there doesn't mean it's good. Doesn't mean it's good. If you're constantly spending more time with your not your spouse, but your girlfriend or boyfriend and not with God, where's your fruit going to be? Cuz the thing is when it comes to things like relationships and stuff, you're like, God has to be the center always, or you are going to run into some major problems. Major problem. We're gonna do a relationship series another day. I could rant about this for 52 and a half minutes. Exactly 52 and a half. But where you spend your time is how where you're gonna see your fruit. I want to give you this thing. Like a great start is like, how do you wake up in the morning? Really though, how do you wake up in the morning? Most of us, if we're being honest, let's be real. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? You roll over. Did they like my picture on Instagram? Did I get any Snapchats? Like the first thing you do is check social media. So the first thing that goes into your head in the morning when you wake up, because remember, how you start defines your direction, right? Where you start your day determines in which direction you start running for that day. And you can turn around and run back. Like if I start for 3 hours, first part of my day, running in comparison, running towards trying to be like everybody else, spending my time trying to be like everybody else. Like I can stop and turn around, but I will not get as far in the other direction. I will not get as far. But if I get up and the first thing I say is, Lord God, thank you for giving me another day. Thank you for allowing me to to do your will for another day. Guess what? You're starting your direction simply based on how you spend your time. The first part of your day. The first part. They did the military does this, released not a study per se, but like sort of like a study, but like there was a couple articles and it said most super accomplished like business people, the first thing they do when they wake up in the morning is make their bed. That seems so weird. Like, so let's be honest, some of y'all don't make your bed all day. You just get out, flip the covers down, and go to work and come back and lay back in it. But the first thing they do is make their bed, and there's a reason. There's a reason. Because in your brain, in their heads, they're trying to accomplish goals, right? And if you can make your bed, that is a goal. It's a mission, an objective. And if they can accomplish that objective first, it releases chemicals in your brain that make other things not seem as bad because you've already won once. If the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is win by making your bed, making it look nice, everything else doesn't seem as bad. Getting to work on time doesn't seem as hard because I've already won. I have the potential to do so. So it makes it so like if you wake up in the morning and you crack open your Bible and read it for 5 minutes. Read one chapter or read 2 verses. If that's the first thing, or have a couple scriptures that you read in the morning that encourage you. Or pray in the morning for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Y'all hit the snooze button for 45 minutes in the morning. I'm guilty. I know. I'm saying that. I'm saying this because I did this. Y'all hit the snooze button for 45 minutes, but you can't pray for 5? Like, I'm sorry. I'm coming for y'all's house today. I hope nobody ever finds out where I live. I'm going to need some security. But, like, how you spend your time is so important. And I've gone on so long. I've gone on 15 minutes already. And we haven't even compared it to Job and Jesus. So we're gonna compare. We're gonna get off this and we're gonna do a little comparison real quick. Like, in the life of Job, if you look at Job, what did he do every single day? Every single day. Now, this is Old Testament, right? He got out, he sacrificed, and then he prayed and he repented every single day. Every single day. That's how he spent his time. That's how he spent his time every day. And then for Jesus was on a constant line of communication. This dude was double checking all the time with his daddy. This dude had an antenna on his camel. I swear he did. It's just invisible. It's a holy antenna, right? And he was in constant communication, constant prayer. That's what I want to emphasize that so much. Prayer is literally your line of communication to God. If you can get on this line of communication and spend your time there and spend your time in the Word and spend your time in worship, like, the direction of your life, your structure in your life, like, what happens if your first response is prayer and worship and the Word? Yeah, I'm doing a throwback to last week. You better believe it. What happens if that's your first response when bad things happen? That's your structure? What can knock you down? What can knock you down? Jesus was always in constant communication with the God. Always. Double checking. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to be doing? And if God don't speak to me right now, I'm going to keep on doing the last thing he told me. Like, ooh, I'm getting so hyped right now. Ooh, I'm getting hyped. But we got to move on. We got to move on. I've been talking about the same thing for 20 minutes, and this is only supposed to be 30 to 40 minutes long. We're going to move on. Okay. Anyway, the second structure, and I think this structure is almost as equally important. The second structure I want to talk about today, and write this down. You ready? Write this down. Your social structure. And the question, along with your social structure, is who are your friends? Who are your friends? And this is so important. Like, you know how they always used to say when you were a kid, like, who you associate with determines who you are? Or people will figure out who you are by who your friends are? Like, that is so true on so many levels. And it's like, I know. There are some of y'all who are sitting, I am INDEPEND, whatever, XWIZK. Yeah, you know what? You might be INDEPEND. Yeah, well, guess what? You're going to be ALONE alone. If you don't get it, you need some friends. You need some friends, okay? And this is why it's so important. It's like, when you have friends, when you've got, like, and I ain't talking about bad friends. I ain't talking about, like, ride or die, we about to go slash his tires, key his car, like, not those kind of friends. I mean, like, godly friends, godly community. I mean, like, a small group, okay? Don't take this out. I got friends. Do you though? And it's so important. Because your friends are the ones who push you in the direction of God, or at least they should be. They're pushing you one way or another. And this is really, like, I heard this one time. It was one of the best ways I've ever put this. There are 3 kinds of friends in this world, but only one of them actually are your real friends. The ones who put you in a valley, the ones who leave you there, and the ones who walk through it with you. But only one of those are your actual friend. Like, really. I want to give you this example in Job. When Job had lost everything. I mean, this dude had sores. If you remember, this dude was getting it. I mean, getting it. This dude had money. He had cows. He had camels, horses. If they had those, I guess they might have. I don't know. But I mean, this dude was getting. I mean, he had like a 2-story house back then. You ain't had a 2-story house. This dude had like a palace. I mean, like all the girls were just like, hey, Job, how you doing? He's married. He's good. He loved the Lord. He's married. Anyway, like this dude was getting it, and he lost everything. All his kids died. All his animals, livestock, whatever, were killed. I'm surprised his house didn't burn down. His house probably did burn down or something. I mean, this dude was done, and he sat, and said nothing for days. Nothing for days. And his friends sat there in silence with him. You want to know how you can determine who are some good friends? Who will just stay with you? Like, I don't need your advice right now. Like I don't need you to sit here and try and solve my problem. Guys, we have a really hard problem with this, but especially when it comes to our girls, because they sit here like, somebody talk in the office about me. Just don't talk to them no more. Like, sometimes you don't need a solution. You just need somebody who will stay. Will just sit with you and say nothing. And maybe bring you some like ice cream or something, or bring me some Oreos. I don't know. Thank you, my friends who like to give me Oreos, because I love you for that. Anyway, but it's so important. And the thing is like, you can't do this alone. The problem is like this structure has to be there. Like, it has to be. You need all 3 of these structures in order to hold up your house, or it's gonna fall. And you need it. And like, I'll give you this comparison, right? Jesus had friends. Like, what's the first thing he did when he started his ministry? Really, though. He found Peter, James, and John. He found them. And he was like, yo, follow me. Actually, he's like, cast your nets, get all them fish, and then come follow me. Right? You'll be fishers of men, is what he said. The first thing, like if anybody could have done it alone, it could have been Jesus. This dude could literally stop time if he wanted to. He walked on water. Dude broke physics. Right? If anybody could have done it alone, it was him. And he still had friends. You need somebody to do life with. And the thing is they're so important, because who you do life with will help determine the direction that your life goes. Like when bad things happen, your friends are the ones that are supposed to push you back towards God for the answer, are supposed to walk through it with you. Not the ones who are supposed to just be mad with you. If you have friends that don't challenge your way of thinking, you need new friends. Like, really. If you go do something bad, I can't believe this happened to me. And your friends don't sit there and go, well, hold on, analyze. First off, did you do something to cause it? First off, that's the first thing you need to be asked. And the second thing is, what is its purpose? Stop asking why and start asking, what am I supposed to learn? Like, really. Like, your social structure is so important. If Jesus had structure and Job had structure, the thing that all their friends did is that they pushed them towards God. Well, Jesus' structure, it was Jesus. Jesus didn't need to know to be pushed towards God. But he was also Jesus, right? You ain't Jesus. You need friends. It's so important. It's so important that you get this. That's one of the key structures. And the thing is, if your friend structure is not strong, like we've all heard of the fair weather friend, the fair weather friends. As soon as something hits, that beam is gone. That beam is gone. And it becomes exponentially more difficult to hold everything up, to hold your house up. It's so important, so important. But we're gonna get off there. We're gonna move on. We got one more. I swear, this is a long video, but we got one more. The very last structure that I want to talk about is probably the most important. It honestly should probably be the prerequisite to the other two. But I wanted to give it to you last because I think it's the most, it's the one that has to be the strongest. But it's also sort of the one that's the hardest to talk about. So I wanted to give it to you last. And this structure, I'm going to give it to you right now. You write it down. Is your spiritual structure. Your spiritual structure. And the question I want you to ask yourself is, where is your heart? Where is your heart? Because you might have some great friends. You might spend your time super productively. You might pray and you might worship, but like, if your heart's not in the right place, none of that other stuff really matters that much, does it? Like, none of that other stuff, if you do not have a relationship with God, if He's not sitting on the throne of your heart, none of that other stuff means that much. Really. Like, you can have friends that are pushing you towards God, and you can just walk the other direction. Where's your spiritual structure? And this is such an interesting thing because, like, we go to church on Sundays. Like, you can go to church on Sundays. It doesn't mean that your spiritual structure is correct. That's part of your spending structure. Doesn't mean your spiritual structure is in the right place. What's on the throne of your heart? What is the thing that is driving you? What is the thing that is your constant motivation? Is it God's purpose? Or is it money? Is it sex? Is it other people? Is it approval from others? Is it just being in relationships so you don't have to feel alone? Is it your parents? What is driving? What is pushing you? What is driving you? What are you constantly chasing after? What are you constantly chasing after? And it's so important because if you look at Job and you look at Jesus and you look at even way back when Moses got the 10 commandments. One of the commandments was there shall be no idols you shall have no other gods, basically. No idols, right? It's said a couple different ways. I'm not going to quote it, but you shall have no other gods before me. And it's like, the thing is though, is to have other gods, you don't have to literally worship another god. You just have to have something in front of the one true God. That's the thing. Is like, you can put money can be your God. Other people can be your God. Comparison can be your God. Instagram can be your God. That little boy on the corner can be your God. Your parents' approval can be your God. So that's why it's so important, is because God has to be the center. And the thing about where your heart is that your heart in your own body is the thing that pumps blood to the rest of your body, to the rest of the parts of your life. And just like we talked in in Growing Pains a few weeks ago. If the blood is constricted, it'll cut off parts of your life and it'll kill them. But not only that, not only if the blood is constricted, if the blood is coming from a bad source, it can cause problems. Like, it can kill other parts of your life. And that's why it's so important. Like, if you've got God at the center, the blood that is getting pumped to every other area of your life, your relationships, your career, your social structure, like, if it's getting pumped to the way you spend your time, this structure literally pumps blood to all the other ones. And it's, where is your heart at? And it's so important. Jesus, obviously, I mean, he was 100% God and 100% man. But he was God. His heart was always with his Father. Always. And the thing is about having your heart, the key to having appropriate spiritual structure is submission. The submission of yourself. You have to give it to him. He can't, like, nobody can walk into your house without you letting them in. He's not breaking down the door. You got to let him in. You have to submit to him. Because if you submit to him, if he can get your heart, he'll change your habits. He'll change the other parts of your life. If he can get your heart, it might not be instantaneously, but he can show you got some bad friends. He can show you that that you're not spending your time appropriately. He can show you that relationship is not good for you. He can show you that for once in your life you need to stop looking for your parents' approval and look for his approval. Like, he can show you all this stuff if he can just get your heart. And that is why your spiritual structure is so important. God always had Job's heart. He always had Job's heart. Even at the end, when Job went to talk to God because he had been tortured. He went and talked to God and he submitted. He said, I know you're God. You can do whatever you want. You're God. I submit. I submit. I know who you are. I've heard your voice. I've heard your word and I've heard your voice. I submit. And the thing is though, is that when God gets your heart, not only will he change the rest of your lives, the rest of the areas of your life, if he can get your heart, if he can get your spiritual structure, he can now level you up. Oh, y'all didn't know that I was low-key hinting at next week's message. I'm not going to give you the title, but if he has your heart, if your structure is sound, it can support another level. And that's why it's so important. And I really think that if we can just get these structures down, right? I'm going to say it one more time. We got our spending structure, our social structure, our spiritual structure. Where? Remember, who, what, and where. Who are my friends? Who are my friends? What has your heart? And where are you spending your time? And I think if we can really get this down, like, we can really have a great structure. We can have such a great structure for the next level of our house. And even when those hard times come, we'll be able to withstand it. Before we end today, I want to pray really quick, and then we're going to end out. And I really hope that after listening to this, you can really go in and start to apply it in your own life and really see God work in those areas. God, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity just to be listening here today, for everybody under the sound of my voice, God. I pray for everyone's safety. I pray for everybody's structure in their life, God. I pray that their social structure, their friends, they find good friends, and they just give you their heart, God. Because if we can just give you our hearts, we can You can change the other areas of our life. You can show us what's not working, and we can walk in purpose. And God, we know that if we walk in your purpose, that the joy that comes from that and the peace, God, is just, it's unexplainable. So Lord, I pray that you take our hearts, you help us plant our structures on the solid foundation that we're setting up for you, God, and that you just guide us and lead us, Lord. We thank you. We love you. We thank you for everything we've seen you do, everything we haven't, God, but mostly we thank you for who you are. We love you. We praise you. We give you honor and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning into Purpose Church Online. I really hope God spoke to you in this message this week, and I'm really excited to keep on going with this series. I hope you all will tune in next week to Under Construction Part 3. Once again, thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.